Or should we flip it away now that we've got the shot?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe that's better, isn't it?
Because it's like Skype conversations or like, FaceTime. Where
Yeah.
you spend more time being like...
Is that what happens?
Right? Because you're just looking at like your faces. And it's less about like the actual conversation.
Yeah.
You're just like, right?
Off on tangents, don't you?
That's why I'm all about old school. Call my girlfriend on the phone.
See, I don't like phones.
What?
I'm a very awkward phone person.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll talk on the phone for like 8.5 hours. I will just gab forever.
See, I'm all about...
Really?
Yeah. Oh, I know it's bad, but as an interviewer, I should be good at the talking thing.
And you're doing fine.
Okay. Oh, we should actually start, shouldn't we?
No, we've started.
Okay, we've started. Yeah. So I'm here at the forum with Liam of Cancerbats.
Yeah.
You seem pretty pumped already. Are you
I'm really
raring to go?
pumped. Yeah, it's a beautiful day. The sun's shining. I've been hanging out in the beautiful sunshine. I had a great coffee already this morning.
Goodness.
Yeah. Although it was funny, I was putting in my order and it was like some serious coffee barista guys working a cart like just outside of the... Yeah, so good. And I was like, can I get a 4-shot Americano in like a 16-ounce cup? And the guy was like, I don't know if I should do that. And I was like, what? I was like, as if that's like the craziest thing you've ever been asked to make. I was like, I'm not asking for like 16 shots of espresso.
And who's he to judge as well?
Right?
You're
But I
customer.
thought he would be like, yeah, respect. Like, I drank 2 of those this morning. He was just like, weird. And he was like, it's going to cost you £3. No way. Yeah, I was like,
Did you spare the change?
Yeah, I was like, we're cool. Like, that's fine. I know what I'm getting myself into.
And it's done the trick.
Yeah, no, I'm rolling. I'm fine.
Now, you're with your pals while she sleeps. Now, you're both skaters, both bands. Like, are you exhausted after this tour because you've been so active? And
I find it actually helps more. I find, like, going for, like, a good skate and, like, kind of, like, being active and running around sort of makes for, like, a better... you kind of just have more energy.
Yeah.
It's like when you work out, I don't work out, but I've heard this, that, like, when you work out, you have more time in your day.
Yeah.
So we've been, like, all about being active. Yesterday we loaded up all the stairs instead of using the lift in Glasgow, and it was just like out of like, I think we just kind of get excited about things and we're like, yeah, let's not use the lift, we'll just carry all the gear. And then the whole band was just, we were all carrying up our gear.
oh God,
Just
is that
in
going to
like
be
an
the main
excited-
thing now? Are you always going to do that?
We like loading our own gear, yeah. For sure, because I think it is, at least some sort of physical activity while you're on this like otherwise lazy day.
Yeah.
So yeah, skateboarding, playing a show, loading your own gear. It's a good way to like stay in shape.
Is it always a bit of a relief when you find out the band that you've got to go and tour with are actually nice people and you actually like being around them?
Well, that's also why like this kind of idea, because we'd met Sleeps before and they were like super nice dudes. We definitely had them recommended to us as like, these guys are like you guys. They tour really hard. They like skateboarding. They like hardcore. They're into punk rock.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, okay, cool. And then we'd met them at festivals. I've played with them in Axe Wound. We like played a show in London with them before, and yeah, just got along super well. So when we heard that they were like doing this record and then this could possibly work out, we're like, oh yeah, this will be a super fun tour. We can hang out.
And it's kind of less hassle. You don't have to break the ice and, make those new friendships and stuff, which can be awkward.
Yeah, I also feel a little bad, too, for the support bands because it's hard to show up to a tour where everybody's bros already, and you're kind of like, we're cool, too. So, like, with Oathbreaker, it was definitely, like, we hung out a lot with the Sleeps guys and met all their crew and kind of, like, bro down. And then, like, week 2 was, like, Oathbreaker then being part of the crew. And now it's just, like, one big, huge family.
Nice.
Yeah. This weird Belgian, UK, Canadian family.
It's working.
Yeah, it's working out great. Our common bond is coffee. That's like where everything works out.
And being just stoked about everything.
And being stoked. And skateboarding. The bass player for Oathbreaker is like really good at skateboarding. So
is he a bit too good? Are you a bit jealous of the skills?
No, it's cool. It's cool. We're all at like a relative level.
Okay.
Like
good.
Laws is really good. But he's also very like humble about it. It's not like he comes up and like crushes the trick you're trying in front of you. Like, oh, heel flips, good idea. And then like heel flips, he like is still chill.
He's cool about it.
Yeah, and then they have this this dude Miller who's out on tour with them, and Laws described him as a skate park gypsy, which is like the most perfect like explanation of this dude. So he's really good at skateboarding too. So they have this weird gypsy skateboarder that just like sets the vibe every day.
I wonder how he feels about that title.
No, he loves it.
He embraces it.
Yeah, I told him that came up in an interview, and he was like, "That's the best way to describe me."
Good for him.
Yeah.
Now I want to talk about Ross Robinson.
Okay.
Because I think you were quite proactive about kind of tracking him down. Was it you that gave him a ring first?
Yeah. I mean, it was suggested from like a mutual kind of friend, a guy who works with Ross. Definitely knew that we were looking for someone to produce, and kind of knew that our vibe would fit really well with his. So he was just like, give him a call. He's super busy, but I think he'd be stoked.
Yeah.
And Ross had, kind of checked us out and been like, okay, I think this will be something that's cool. And then, got on the phone with him for just 10 minutes and was like, this dude's the best. And we have a lot of friends in common. I dropped that we're friends with Norma Jean.
Casually.
Yeah, well, because sometimes you need that little icebreaker, to be like, these guys who are super chill and can hang are friends of ours. And we're chill and we can hang, so I hope you pick up on that. And he was just like, Norma Jean? And it was just everything was cool. He was into working with us. So cheers to Norma Jean for that, being my name drop.
Very good. Now, you said that you knew that he was able to bring out the best in bands he worked with.
Yeah.
So did you find that happened really quickly, that you saw good things coming out of you when you started working with him?
Well, I think also we knew what he was kind of notorious for doing with bands, so we kind of got ahead of that and prepared for it. So we were just really ready to embrace what Ross had to offer. So we were already practicing with No Click, and it's I write pretty close to the heart lyrics, so I was okay, this guy is gonna try and draw that emotion. It's I'm already charging these songs with that without knowing that we're going to work with Ross. So it's this is what I want. This is that same kind of experience. And then you meet this person that you've heard so much about, and it's one, not what you're expecting, and then two, it's better than you had expected, I think is the best way to describe Ross. There's so many legends about him, and you hear stories about him making people cry and throwing things and stuff like that, but it's not in the way that you expect. It's here's this person who genuinely cares about making your band sound the best that it can and having fun at the same time and being excited for the sake of making music and because that's what he wants to put out in the world. And then not being this madman terror. He's this really humble, super soft spoken, really nice vegan, great dude.
Yeah, and I hear that he wanted you to kind of explain the lyrics how it affects each person in the band. Was that something you were comfortable with doing, or was that? Yeah, that's quite vulnerable, isn't it?
It is, but I mean, it's something that we definitely have done a little bit of before. I always want to make sure that everyone in Cancer Bats can get behind the song. Just because I'm writing it doesn't mean it shouldn't, represent everyone in the band. So then Ross takes that a whole step further, where he wants the emotional side of what I would put into a lyric to be the same emotions that you would put into playing drums. So even though it's about my girlfriend, Mikey has a wife, he knows what it's like to have that. Scott has a girlfriend, everybody can get behind they've been in these same positions. Or he'll be what does that make you think in a completely different way? Who is the person that you love the most in your entire life, and what would that make you feel? So it's one of those things that you also then think about. You're not just moshing for the sake of moshing. You're playing these songs because and especially with some of the songs where Arsenic was about people who were close to all of us that had passed away. So he was just think about why you would even care to write those songs about this person, because everyone in the band knew those people that we were writing about and had a personal connection to it. So when Jay's playing bass, he's thinking about Alan and the times that they, moshed to bands together. And it was really cool in that way to make it an emotional thing, but also make it like a real, celebration of people's lives as well. So
I guess it's kind of quite a draining way of doing it though, because you are having to reach right in there.
It's pretty exhausting in a lot of ways. And it does bring up a lot of those like genuine emotions like that you're feeling. You're not just like in theory, like, oh yeah, this was a bum out. It's like he kind of brings you back to that point. But I don't know. It's like, as long as you trust him, it's like Ross will never let you fall. I think that was like one of the main things that like we found, was that he was like, I'll push your vocals to the point of like you almost losing your voice. But he's like, but I'll never get you to the point where you blow it out. I'll never like ruin you. And it was like already knowing that, kind of like, I don't know, sometimes you just trust people and you're like, okay, cool. Like, I know you're not going to like fuck with me and like ruin this, because you don't want it to be ruined either. So it was like having that confidence in him, I think made for like such a different sounding and different experience like in the studio.
And with that back catalogue of, you trust him anyway, really, don't you? And
that's the thing too, is like anything that happens in the studio, he's like so excited, and it makes him think of like a story. He's like, oh, this is like when I was recording Glassjaw, and like he was like going crazy, and we were like doing kung fu kicks like in the studio, and you're like, whoa, that's so cool. Or he's like, this is like when we were doing Blood Brothers, and like blah 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 blah. And it's like all these bands that we kind of like were stoked on and grew up on. And he's like, oh, this drum beat is like, makes me think of like at the drive-in and when we were doing this and like blah 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 blah, and you're just like, you can't help but be like pumped.
It's infectious.
Yeah, but he's not doing it in a braggy way. No. Like, he's not trying to be like, I recorded The Cure, so shut the fuck up. Like he's just like being like excited like we would. So
it's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because like, when I first saw that you were going to be recording, by the beach, the sun, he's got that cute dog, you've got your Canadian comedy in the background. I thought, how are you going to get that like anger and that kind of menace in your songs? But I guess his techniques is the integral thing.
And there also is a room with no windows, so you can't really, it's like this hot, like his live room is smaller than this dressing room. Oh, like it's like so hot. The ceiling is like maybe, only 6'5", and it's just like you're packed in this tiny little room to do everything. And when we were like recording drums, it's like the whole band is like packed in this tiny little room, like jamming together, and it's so hot and it's so intense that it feels like a show. It feels like you're playing like a basement, and it's like you can't help but vibe on that. And then we open up all the doors and the sea air comes in, and you're like, and then we go outside and you're in Venice, and it's almost like, because you have that like real night and day kind of like it's like you're pushed to this intensity, but then you can kind of like go get a burrito and like hang out with like the most chill people ever while you get a coffee, and you're like, whoo. But then the next day you're back in this like sweat lodge of intensity.
How was it? Because you mentioned how everyone's in the room while you're performing or doing your bit. Yeah. Was it ever kind of nerve-wracking because you knew that the eyes were on you at that point to, kind of deliver the goods? Yeah.
I was in the room by myself when I would be doing vocals. Like, I definitely sang like with everyone while we were doing the drum tracks. So it's just like us playing live. But then when it came time to like actually sing, it was just like me in the room by myself with headphones, and Ross with headphones, and like we're kind of just in that together. Even though everyone in the room can hear kind of like what's going on, he definitely keeps it just like sort of between the two of you.
So it's not too distracting
I think that's the thing, because he's like all about trying to just like get you into this like vibe, like let you set in this vibe.
Okay. And now you've kind of experienced the Ross Robinson way, do you think, okay, that's the only way we can do it now, or has it just opened your eyes a bit more?
It definitely, I don't know. It's like one of those things. I remember talking to Corey from Normagene when we saw them at South by Southwest, and he came up to me and he was just like, dude, you're changed now. Like, you've worked with Ross, like, you're different. Like, I know it because that's what happened to me. And he even saw it, like, this was before we played. And, like, then after we played, because we've toured with Normagene before, he's seen us play a whole bunch of times. And he's just like, yeah, that's, like, the Ross effect. Oh. And it's like you don't have as much of, like, a barrier that you would almost, like keep yourself from like losing it, I guess, like, is the only way I can describe it. It's just that Ross is like all about everything being so real. So everything else that you would do that is only 80% or 70% is like complete bullshit. So you're just like, okay, yeah, you have to like take it to this point. So I think even now by default, if we were to record with someone else, we've had so much impact from Ross to like shape how we do things that it's like it would always, you know, be there. But that being said, I really hope we get to record with Ross again. Yeah, because we were there for less than a month. Wow. And it definitely made us wonder like what would have happened if we had been there for twice as long. You know, I love the intensity that we had working like 14 hours a day and like being like, you know, just in this vibe. But at the same time, like, could we have done more? Like, I think, maybe Cancer Bad 6. Sweet. We'll just like write it in Venice.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of the writing before you hit the studio, I think you had like a 6 months kind of time to do it.
We had a ton of time. Just because we wanted to take that time kind of to be off the road, be with our families, like be at home, kind of less of the like frantic constant cycle that we've been in for the last like 8 years leading up to that. So it was like, okay, let's like make this a little bit different. Like let's like hang back and let's like, you know, actually like take our time with all these songs and to just have a break
and to live. Just be a human.
Exactly. Do some other things. And by default, that made this whole writing experience like fun. Like it kind of went back to the reason why you start a band in the first place. I think because we were doing all these other things, like I was renovating my house. So I would like show up in like work clothes, like covered in like drywall dust. And like lots of times Mikey and Jay were like helping me out like to do it. And then, so by default, like coming to play music together is like such a fun thing. Yeah. It isn't like our job. Cause like I'm technically being a construction worker on my house and I'm like running electrical and doing all these frustrating things. And then it's like, oh, and now I get to play like sweet riffs with like my bros. Like, I'm stoked on this. So I feel like by default that kind of like made less of like, oh, this is our 5th record, this has to be the best thing ever, this is our job, you know, our whole lives hinge on this. We were just like, let's write some riffs. And you know, Jay would come with like songs, we would all come with songs. So we were thinking about on those days when we were doing, you know, different things, like Jay's at his wood shop thinking about riffs, you know. And it sounds silly, but sometimes just being distracted with something else is when you like think about those like ideas.
Did you find though, because you had that 6 months, that you found yourself going off in different directions, different tangents, and you didn't, maybe if you had a shorter period of time, you would have gone, we're doing this is the vibe we're going for?
Well, and that's the thing too, I think we had enough time to write tons of songs. So we wrote like 25 songs that we could kind of, you know, figure out which ones were the best. And I think that's why this record sounds as varied as it does, because we were actually able to take a song like Beelzebub and be like, okay, we're gonna like really work this through until it's like a song that we're like proud to put on the album, and not halfway do it and then maybe abandon it because it doesn't sound like Cancer Bats yet. You know, I feel like we had enough time to like make those songs work that we may have shied away from. Like I feel like Beelzebub and Curse with a Conscience and Dusted are definitely like those kind of songs that are really, they still sound like Cancer Bats, but it took us 6 months to get them to sound like Cancer Bats and not just sound like, oh, we love stoner rock. But this isn't really a Cancer Bat song yet. It's like those vibes like kind of took a little bit more time.
Now, is that what true zero means? Kind of finding a focus, getting rid of the BS and just knowing what you are and where you're going and that sort of thing?
It was like that point of like kind of getting to a new starting point of the band and being like, this is like the new chapter kind of everything, especially after like, you know, tons of kind of like harsh things like had happened in the like touring of DSOL that we were like, okay, that's all done with. This is us being stoked and just like moving forward.
Yeah. Talking about great things that Danzig Pennywise thing. How excited are you? Amazing.
Yeah, I was really excited. That came up like on this tour. Wow. And it was such like a rad, like there was like, oh, this tour's happening. And we were like, yeah, like put us in like as if we're going to get that tour. And then we saw an email that was like from like the booking agent was like, yeah, totally cool. Let me just ask Glenn. And we were like, he's talking about Glenn Danzig. Like that's so cool. And so we were like tripping out because like Pennywise, like Unknown Road was like one of my favorite records like growing up. Like that's like huge. And like obviously like Danzig like had such an impact like on all of our lives. So just like the fact that we're gonna get to like even play one show, let alone like do a whole like West Coast tour with them, is the coolest thing ever. So I'm super stoked for that.
Are you gonna play it cool when you meet them?
I'm gonna try my best to play it cool. Yeah. I'm also cool with like in one of those like situations where almost like I don't need to be best friends.
Yeah.
Like I'll just say what's up. You know what I mean? Like where you don't need to like. I'm not gonna try and like punish Danzig or like, you know what I mean?
You don't want to be that guy.
You just want to be like, what's up, man?
Yeah.
It's like there's those people in the world like Ian Mackay. I don't need to be best friends with Ian Mackay. Like Henry Rollins, like it'd be cool to say what's up to Henry Rollins, but like I don't need to like have their phone number to feel like I've done something with my life. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like I've come 35 years so far without like knowing these people. I respect what they do. I love what they do. So if it's just like, what's up, Danzig? That's cool.
Enough.
Yeah. We already had Odorous Orunga sing Sabotage with us, so like that's the ultimate like box tick, so I'm good.
Talk about box being ticked. You went back to Japan this year, I think, well. Like what else is on there for Cancer Bats? What's on the bucket list as a band?
We really want to go to Mexico. We're like dying to do Mexico, and I think because we have so much interaction with like amazing Mexican kids who we've met and who like come and hang out, and I feel like tell us how big of like an influence our band has had on people from like all these places in like Guadalajara and Mexico City and like all this stuff that we're just like, we have to go to Mexico. So we're really trying to figure that out, and I really want to do South America as well. So I'd love to do like tons of Central America, South America, but it's tough for us to do. And there's lots of places like we still haven't headlined like Australia on DSOL or this like record, so we definitely need to like go and do like a full headline run of like Australia, and like even just like tons of UK. Like this tour just makes me realize that we need to do like way more UK.
Yeah, you're much loved over here,
right? And it's like we get to Glasgow and people are like, where's like the rest of the Scottish shows? And I'm like, I know, but we can't. And like same, like any of these cities, they're like, where's Cardiff? Like what's going on? And I'm like,
you feel bad.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, I'm sorry, like this tour is just like, you know, short. So I feel like we need to come back and do like a 30-day tour of the UK.
Yeah, do it.
Right?
Yeah, make it
and
happen,
just like crush it. I think it would be good. Like we didn't play Leeds. Like Leeds is like one of my favorite cities in the UK.
Oh, they love to party in Leeds.
Right? Yeah. They love their chips and gravy. They love to party.
That's the real reason you want to go.
That's the real reason. They love BMX bikes. Like it's like my jam. But
so whoever has the influence, sort it out.
Ben Ray, let's do it.
Oh, that's the guy.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, well, I think my time is up, but thank you very much.
But this is a good hang.
It was good hang.
I don't believe you're bad at talking on the phone after you just had such a cash hang.
I don't even ring my best friends because
really?
I'm so awkward,
I don't buy it.
Fact, yeah. It's true. Well, have a good show tonight.
Cheers.
Yeah.
I'll see you in the pit.
Maybe. See you there.
I'll see you in the pit.
Okay. Are you throwing me in there?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Stage time. The barricade.
Then I will be there. Cool.
Deal.